It was only a matter of time before school administrators had to fully embrace online education. Technology may have made it possible, but the COVID-19 pandemic has made it imperative. As one of the leading academic institutions in the country, Ahead Education, together with its other brands, are bridging the gap between traditional and distance learning. Our online programs have been supporting thousands of Filipino students in getting ahead and achieving their dreams, and we will continue to do so even amidst a global pandemic. Today, Ahead Education and the leadership strategies for school managers will let private schools all over the Philippines in on not just how online education works, but also how to succeed in this new era and thus capture an entire generation of digital learners for basic education. Welcome to today's webinar. Feel free to ask any questions after the program. See you all in 3, 2, 1.
Good afternoon, everyone. Once again, welcome to another LESM webinar featuring leaders of learning in the Philippines. Thank you so much for supporting our webinar last July 11. We were able to reach and help more than 16,000 educators all over the Philippines, and that inspired us to create another webinar that can do the same for more teachers and principals, as more specifically for the basic education sector. We are currently at a very important crossroads in education. Traditional education cannot currently support our students' needs. This is why we need to learn how we can successfully transition to distance learning and online schooling. To address this need, we have once again invited leaders of learning from the Philippines' top schools to share their insights on how we can transition online, especially for basic education. Our speakers are all quite experienced in the field of education, and their insights can help us respond to the challenges that the educational sector is facing right now. Technology is an essential part of distance learning, but how can we make the most out of it to help our students survive and thrive amidst this new normal? I am really excited for today's webinar because we seldom see today's esteemed guests on one platform. We encourage viewers to actively post their questions on our comment section so that we can try to answer this in our discussion later on. It may also be beneficial if you can also share the link to this webinar so more school leaders can benefit from this. So before we start, I would like to introduce myself. I am Rosana Leonardo. I am the founder and president of Ahead and LESM. LESM stands for Leadership Strategies for School Managers. So I founded LESM together with former PAASCO chairwomen, Dr. Cornelia Soto from Ateneo and Mrs. Lilia Venco from LaSalle. So last 2005. So I believe that since teachers are heroes, then our panelists are heroes among heroes. So I'm really, really honored to have started this initiative with them. They lead private schools that I truly admire, and most importantly, they remain highly respected and well-loved within their institutions. So you must all be very excited to meet today's speakers. So I will now introduce these esteemed guests, whom I am also glad to call my friends. So without further ado, here are the experienced educators who have contributed to upholding the pillars of our education system. First up, we have none other than De La Salle Laguna's former integrated school principal, as well as their former consultant for basic education. Let us all please welcome Mrs. Lilia Venco. Okay, so
Hello.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello, hi.
Is our audio okay?
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you, ma'am. It's okay.
Yeah, okay. Right,
So,
I'm excited too.
So thank you very much, Mrs. Venko, for joining us today. I really appreciate that you agreed to join us despite your busy schedule. No, busy pa rin. So next up, let's hear from the principal of one of our country's top private schools. Please give a warm round of applause for Xavier Grade School's principal, Mrs. Jane Cacacho. Hello, Mrs. Cacacho.
Good afternoon to everybody.
And lastly, we have the honor to welcome no other than the President of LaSalle Santiago Sobel, former President also of LaSalle Green Hills, Brother Bernard Oca. Thank you so much, Brother Bernie, for being here with us today.
Maraming salamat sa pag-anyaya ninyo. Magandang hapon sa lahat.
So to those who are watching us, please share the link to this webinar so other schools and educators can also learn from our speakers. So libre naman po pag-share. So paki-share nyo naman para lahat-lahat tayo matuto. Okay, so thank you so much to our guest speakers. I know you have a very hectic schedule. Lahat ng nasa education sobrang busy. So we truly appreciate that you made the time to join us today for today's discussion on the new normal. That said, there are a few questions we'd like to ask, no? Simulan na natin agad para game na. So, what do you think are the biggest challenges facing our schools and our students right now? So, can you start, Brother Bernie, please?
Well, gawa nga ng pandemya, para maipatuloy natin ang ating mission bilang mga educators, kailangan natin ng bagong paraan para pagtuturo. Kaya ang biggest adjustment natin ay talagang yung pagturo via online, na fully online. Maraming mga eskwela na ngayon lang gagawin ito, kaya ang laki-laking adjustment ang gagawin nila sa training ng faculty, sa pag-adjust or pag-orient ng mga magulang at mga estudyante, yung mga materials, paano gagawin para maging effective ang online learning, ano ang mga strategies, ano ang mga paradigms, ano ang mga frameworks na kailangan gawin para maging epektibo itong online learning. So itong talagang challenge ay talagang ang challenge ng adjustment at sa panibagong type ng pagtuturo.
Okay, can we hear from Mrs. Cachola, please?
That's me, Mrs. Cacacho.
Jane.
It's okay. It's all right. I get that all the time.
No,
Sige
I have a
po.
friend ganun ang last name.
It's okay. You can hear me? Yes? No? Okay. So I tried to put it together. So I think one of the main challenges would be access, as Brother Bernie mentioned. But when we talk about access, we're talking about not just the device, but the connection. And sometimes the connection is based on where they are living. I know of students who have to go outside the house, go to the corner of the street just to catch the Wi-Fi connection. So they have a gadget, but they don't have the connection. And then, of course, the finances of providing the first two. And access also in terms of support. Assistance from the home, especially for the younger kids. A grade 1, grade 2 student who has an adult beside him or her will not perform the same way as the same age student without any adult beside that person. So that will have a big impact on how much is learned and how performance will be gauged when needed. And then also mentioned yung quality nga, So because it's purely online, how much do we teach? Will it be as much as we did before, given that we have to limit screen time, given that attention span is limited na nga inside the classroom, and then you still have to manage attention via a screen. So that's extra difficult. In relation to that is student motivation. In the past, when the teacher manages the class, makukuha ka sa tingin, hindi ba? Titigan ka ng teacher. Ngayon, pwede mong hindi tignan yung teacher habang tinititigan ka ng teacher. Di ba? I was observing a class. I could feel the frustration of a teacher saying, please do this. Pero that feeling of not being able to do what you want to do, that can render you helpless, and hopefully not hopeless. And as I said, how to balance all those three. So I think those are challenges that we are all facing. Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Benko.
Oh, well, all of the challenges have been mentioned, I think. But let me just point out, well, my experience in dealing with some of the teachers going online at this time is I was surprised that not all teachers know all kinds of technologies needed. No? Some of them would not know the online chat or the video conferencing. Um, so the other concern that they told me was that how do they know that students do not copy their answers? I mean, when you give a test or an assessment, how do you know that nobody was teaching them and all those? And of course, I told them that the guidelines before the classes must be very clear to them. Students must know what to do given all the guidelines. And we also consider that students must be successful in those classes, in all those undertakings. In the same way that they gain success in the traditional classrooms, we must make sure that online education or distance learning will also make sure that the students learn. It's not just a gadget where they hear this many things, but they learn to continue to strengthen their academic, social, emotional skills, which are very important.
Pero lang akong gustong idagdag, lalo na ngayon as nalaman natin na bubuksan ng school ngayon, October 4 pa.
October 5, yes, brother.
October 5. So, yung mga naghahanda pang mga eskwela, magandang isipin na gumawa sila ng mga practice sessions, simulation sessions, orientation sa maaga bago mag-umpisa yung actual na klase. Kasi doon marami mga adjustments na gagawa na bago magbukas. Kami isang buwan at kalahati na may experience dito. Nakita ko rin na nag-a-adjust pero nakikita rin.
They can manage.
At saka kino-correct mo na. Marami ka nakikita na kailangan i-correct. Nagagawa ng paraan kung merong communication ang students, faculty, at saka yung mga parents. Nakakatuwa nga nung isang orientation, bago kami mag-umpisa, nagbigay kami ng orientation. Yung isang magulang, gulong-gulo, sabi niya, ang hirap nito, paano ba to? Tapos, nung pinakita sa anak, lumapit yung anak sa computer, ginanong, ganon, tapos natapos yung anak. So, nabigla yung ina, sabi namin, kasi yung anak ninyo, mga digital natives, na akala ninyo na hindi pa masyadong marunong na kayo konti-konti pa lang na natututo, sila medyo may alam na. Kaya yung adjustments may be a little easier or mas madali para sa mga kabataan. Pero tama yung lalong-lalo na sa umpisa, kasi matagal silang nakikita ng classmates nila, gustong-gusto nila makipag-chat, so pati yung teacher na nabibigla sa disiplina kasi nga gutom na gutom yung mga bata na makipag-socialize. Kaya importante rin dito sa online learning, merong collaborative at active engaged learning.
So I'd like to point out yung nasabi ni Brother Oka, na pati yung parents kailangan dito makipag-collaborate. Diba sabi mo rin, Mrs. Kakacho, na pati yung kung walang kasamang parent yung mga mas batang students, medyo nahihirapan. And so, alam niyo, ang dami-daming mga lumabas recently na mga parang comments ng mga parents, pati ba ako naka-enroll? Yun yung tinatanong ng parents kasi parang nahihirapan sila. Pero as we are saying, ni Brother Oka, yung mga students ngayon are digital natives. Mas nung nabuhay sila, meron na agad internet and computers. Kaya mas alam nila. So kung yung mga parents medyo aalala na hindi matututo yung anak nila, hindi ganon. Kasi mas nang nabuhay silang interact with the computer.
But may I just add, the parent, kasi we were very careful to tell our parents that we expect them to be the learning managers of their children, not to be the teachers, no? But but you cannot, there's a very, very thin line between assisting your child and assisting him understand what's coming across on screen. So sometimes the students may be a digital native, but look, for a grade one boy, a digital native may be confident, less scared about pushing a button on a device. But as regards understanding what needs to be understood, that's a different thing. So that may need the assistance of the parent also.
Oo.
Brother Bernie.
Tama yun. Pero ang experience namin sa ibang mga magulang, ginagawa na nila yung trabaho ng mga estudyante, yung mga anak nila. Kasi nga,
Yes.
and lalo hindi matututo yung anak. Ang goal, ang isang goal natin talaga ngayon sa paradigm ng teaching ay yung mga bata maging independent learners. Kaya mas maagang matuto sila maging independent, mas magaling ang learning nila. So kailangan
That's
talaga maalis sila doon sa apron strings. Sa ibang mga magulang talagang medyo malakas ang hawak sa mga bata o gusto nila mag-achieve yung bata. Minsan sabihin nila, gagawin na namin yung trabaho ng anak, na hindi rin pwede. Kaya independent learners and lifelong learners, yan ang ating goal sa ating mga estudyante.
Yeah.
Ang ganda naman ng discussion natin. First question pa lang, ang dami na kagad na, I'm sure ang dami na kagad na natutunan or naintindihan more yung ibang mga viewers natin. No? Kung nakikita nyo, may Mandaue, Pangasinan, Samar. So, kung regular seminar ito na hindi online, baka hindi nakarating sila, itong mga nasa Iligan, di ba? And I'm so happy na ngayon na napapanood nila tayo. So, thank you so much again for accepting this invitation, no? Kayong mga, napansin ko lang, ano pala to, reunion ng mga taga Green Hills. Kasi,
EDSOR kami.
EDSOR.
kasi si Mrs. Botola Xavier sa Green Hills, si Mrs. Benko was a former principal under Brother Oka of Green Hills.
Yes.
And Brother Bernie is also the president of LaSalle Green Hills before. So, lumipat sa...
Napakagaling na principal si Mrs. Benko.
I agree.
Thank you, brother.
I agree.
14 years ago, brother. Imagine
Kasi
that.
itong ginagawa natin, mga online learning, nauumpisahan na namin yan sa Green Hills pa lang, yung learner-centered learning environment.
And approach, yes.
So talagang, nung pa lang talagang pinaplano na So, ayan, nandyan na.
For medyo makikisingit lang ako bakit kilala ko kayo. Kasi we were the review center of LaSalle Green Hills before.
Yes, brother, if you recall.
Yes.
They gave the review sessions to our graduating students, and that was the time when the percentage of admissions at TAF increased.
Kasi nga magaling din ang principal
Yes. And I keep telling others na bilib na bilib ako sa LaSalle Green Hills at that time because open to collaborations with us na review center. Na at that time hindi pa naman kilala. That was 22 years ago. Tagal. Pero tayo.
Ganun ba yun?
So,
okay.
Mrs. Kakacho, sorry pero siguro ma'am teacher ka pa lang at that time, no? Or baka student ka pa lang kasi baby ko.
Compliment.
Hindi yata. Oo, pero sige. Tatanggapin ko ng maluwalhati.
Oo, kilala na namin si Jane gawa nung
Sa
EDSOR.
So let's move to the next question. How will these challenges now affect your curriculum, academic structures, learning systems, grading systems, ang dami naman, student attendance and engagement? So medyo kahit isa-isa lang natin sagutin yan. How does your school respond to these challenges? So pwedeng academic structure muna, learning systems, grading systems, student attendance and engagement. Ang dami kasi You can
Can I
answer.
start?
Hey, ma'am. Hey, ma'am.
Oo, kasi I'm not connected with any school now, brother. But I am doing learning modules
Ma'am, you forgot.
for
You're connected to our
science.
school.
I'm connected to their school.
I have Alpha. You are the
So,
director.
in the process of writing the modules now for online learning, the biggest challenge I encountered was how to make the directions interactive and self-directed. Yung bang when the students read it, they should be able to do it by themselves. So per level, the teacher has to realize the different skills of the students per level. Kaya dapat yung mga instructions on the learning module must be suited to the abilities of the students. So they don't have to ask an adult or whatever. Plus, the activities must be interactive. The teacher should not spend the whole time lecturing. No? Maybe a few explanation, but even with the explanation, there should be a photo analysis, illustration analysis, all through the slides. And therefore, preparation for every lesson is very important. I think that is the biggest challenge for the teachers. More so for considering that all the different lessons must be based on the competencies issued by DepEd. No? So I guess everyone needs to be trained for this purpose, for the teachers have to be trained for particular modules according to their subjects because different subjects have different skills. No? Ibang skills sa math, ibang skills sa science. I'm working on the science modules. And the team made sure that materials must be readily available to the students because it's a hands-on learning. You cannot just present concepts that students cannot visualize. No? They have to see it, they have to experience it so that they can see the application of the concepts in their natural environment. So for me, teacher preparation of the materials, whether it's online or print materials, have to be readily prepared by the teacher. And that will require, I think, a lot of time for the teachers prior to their online teaching. No?
Okay, so Brother Okat, Brother
Yung yung naisip ko talaga, kailangan na talagang i-accept ng teacher, ng guro, na hindi na sila ang only source of information and content. Hindi na ang guro ang center, hindi na siya yung bida. Ang guro ay facilitator nung pag-aaral, pagtuturo ng mga estudyante. So kailangan talaga learner-centered na. Kaya yun ang, I think, iisipin na ng teacher, bagong-bago na hindi hindi sila ang bida, hindi sila ang namumuno. Ang namumuno dapat ang estudyante. So yun ang mahalaga. So anong mga consequences niyan? Di siyempre kung paano ipaplano yung pagtuturo, iisipin nila na kailangan active yung students, engaged, totoo, relevant ang kanilang mga pinag-aaralan, nadadagdagan ng kanilang kaalaman para yung understanding mas lumalalim. So in terms of modules, in terms of your curriculum, mag-iiba talaga. Yung curriculum, ang binigay ng DepEd talaga, yung competencies na essential na lang. Kasi alam nga nila na mahirap ngayon na hindi pwedeng ibigay ang lahat. Kaya pin-nair down nila yung essential competencies. Pero hindi naman nangangahulugan na tayong mga educators limitado sa ganyan. Pwede natin i-enhance naman. Kaalam naman yan ng DepEd. In terms of yung so curriculum, ang ginagawa namin sa Zobel, as much as possible, maging interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary ang pagtuturo. So, mawawala yung mga distinctions, yung kaibahan ng, or ang kung science to, English to, social science to, isa-separate. Pero mas maganda kung nasasabay-sabay lahat yan. Pati rin yung mga extracurriculars, para dapat hindi na rin tawag extracurriculars yan kasi kasama rin yan sa pagtuturo, sa pagkakaalam eh. So, yung music, sports, debate, no? Ang dinagdag namin sa curriculum sa Zobel, yung robotics. Kasi dito makikita na paano ginagamit ang science, ang math sa learning. Pati problem solving, pati teamwork, collaboration, creativity, lahat yan nakapasok na dyan sa robotics. Pati ngayon, ang emphasis din is coding. So gusto na namin magsimula ng coding as a language kasi importante yan sa mga bata na sa hinaharap nila. So kaya yun isasama na rin natin. Pero hindi mawawala kahit na may technology at dapat tulong ng technology, ang mathematics at saka reading. Kasi yung dalawang yun, yung math, basic na basic ngayon sa lahat ng pagbabago dito sa ating mundo. At saka reading. Kasi yung reading, talaga yan magiging independent learners sila. Yan magiging lifelong learners sila.
Sobrang galing ni Brother Bernie. Oh my God. So, thank you for that, Brother Bernie. No? Lalo na naman ako humanga sa inyo. So, Ma'am, Mrs. Camacho.
Sige, since they talked about curriculum, I'd just like to reiterate the need to trim it down drastically, no? But I'll move forward from there. So si Ma'am Venko mentioned na yung nga interactive, hindi ba? But also, all these changes have an effect on, let's say, the grading system, di ba?
Yeah.
Right now,
Right.
we have to change our grading system because in the past, we could nuance the level of mastery or level of understanding very distinctly. But now that assessments are taken at home, first, we are not sure if the level of understanding was affected by the Wi-Fi connection. And penalizing someone for that would be unfair. Second, the integrity of the grades may also be in question. Na-mention nga ni Brother Bernie, there are some parents with still apron strings, talagang nakatutok sa anak, sobra-sobra. So, that's why, ang ginawa namin, I don't know, for me, it seems right, no? Ang big idea sa amin ngayon is we will keep to the standards by requiring, we changed our grading system to make it simpler. So either you pass it with distinction, or you don't show sufficient evidence of getting it. Ganun lang kasimple. Kasi, what's to separate a B from a B+? Diba? Yung mga nitty-gritty nun, na dating pwede mong makita at dating pwede mong i-attribute clearly to instruction of the teacher, nadagdagan ng sobrang daming variables. And because these are beyond our control, it's difficult to nuance anymore. So I think for the schools out there, rethink your grading system. Simplify it so that it can be fair to all your students. Because it's going to be difficult to pinpoint the exact reason for a particular grade. In line with that, so in terms of discipline naman, kasi nga, di ba, you're controlling from afar, right? In the past, when the teacher was inside the classroom, yun nga, pag hindi makuha sa tingin, pwede mo tawagin someone else to help you or pagsabihan. Ngayon, pag what do you call that? I-off ka niya, wala ka na. So, right now, I think we have to rely more on students learning from the consequences of their actions. Kunwari kami sa Xavier, very OC kami dati eh. Di ba? Pag late ka, sinabing ganito, impuntong ganito, pag wala ka dyan, late ka. Eh ngayon, kung mabagal internet mo, kasalanan mo ba na late ka? 'Di ba? But it's important also to check. Baka may ibang batang laging late habitually and sadya or because it's poor study habits. But I think what's important is kung hindi natin kayang i-control, let the students learn from those experiences. Pag late ka, you lose the input in the first few minutes, right? But at the same time, we should still be compassionate enough to recognize that the late coming may be due to a valid reason. Okay? So yung sa amin, if you don't pass the first time, okay, we give you a second chance to take it again. For this year lang yan because nga we're online distance learning. Because we do not have the confidence to say you failed because you did not get it. You probably failed because your fine motor skills were poor. You could not do what you had to do with a gadget. Diba? Pwede rin yon. And so give you a second chance. But at the same time, passing score, what we deem passing, we will retain our old standards so that we can impose academic excellence. So I think the balance between the space, the room with which to acknowledge that students will not reach the goal at the same time will have to be there, that consideration. But the goal where it is should not be moved backwards. It should remain where it is so that we will get our students there.
Oh, yung grading system, meron naman talaga doon sa loob ng term yung mga formative assessment at saka summative assessments. So yung formative assessments, pwedeng ulit-ulitin yun hanggang ma-master ng estudyante yung competency. Tapos pagdating ng summative assessment, is more or less malalaman na ng estudyante kung makakaya na niya o maaabot na niya yung competency at kung anong level ang maaabot niya. Makikita rin naman yan sa rubric. Pero yung may maraming mga applications ngayon na yung kung gusto niyong mabawasan ang cheating kasi yan ang mga kinakatakot ng teachers na ay baka ito yung batang ito mag-cheat pag kumukuha ng assessment. May mga applications ngayon pero hindi pa puro perfect na, pwede pang ayusin yun pero meron na magagawa. Pero sana ang gawin natin mga assessments o para malaman natin na na-achieve na ng mga estudyante yung competency, hindi lang puro content, pero yung understanding ang talagang dapat hahanapin natin na hindi na inuulit lang yung mga facts at saka content ang pinigay ng teacher, pero na-analyze nila, na-reflect na nila, tapos na-intindihan nila at a higher level yung content na pinigay ng teacher. So, mahalaga din yun.
Yes.
Okay. So, ang daming kong natutunan na ready pala kayo, no? Mrs. Capacho. So, meron questions sa inyo. Gusto ba nating sagutin mo yung questions o later on na lang? Kasi baka
later.
No? Later on na lang, pero ang haba ng question sa'yo, Mrs. Capacho, nakadirect talaga sa'yo. Can you read it? Nakita mo ba? Yes?
Nasa comments ba?
Nasa comments. So, pero mamaya na lang siguro yung question na yan. Diba? So, ma'am, Mrs. Benko, meron ka bang idadagdag doon?
No, I guess they have tackled everything, I think.
Ang gagaling, di ba, ma'am? So,
Yeah.
let's not talk about the school's internal workforce, especially the faculty members and other school personnel. What are the specific ways in which we can boost their morale and commitment during these uncertain times? Kasi ang hirap-hirap magturo online talaga. So, what are you doing to combat this? No, yung medyo baka nalulow morale, hirap-hirap. I know a lot of teachers saying na ang tagal-tagal raw po ng preparation nila at this time as compared sa dati. So, anyone of you, ma'am?
Oh, well, I can start. Rosanna, I will share my experience working with Brother Bernie because that's what the teachers have been telling me. that Brother Bernie was very supportive. So I think this is a time when the teachers would need support from their administrators. It could be technical support, it can be, whatever support they need, but they really need to have that kind of support from their teachers. I'm sure that teachers have a lot of problems, no? Whatever, yung mga different aspects in the teaching learning process. But the administrators, the supervisors really must give them the support, understand their particular situation, because I'm sure their online classes are not very perfect. They will encounter a lot of problems, no? So whatever those problems are, must have the support of the directors, of the president of the school, and because they need that. They need that. I am not saying the rate, but it helps. Whatever rates they get during the regular traditional classrooms, I think should be reflected in the rates now, because we know that the financial concerns of many people now, this is the greatest problem. And really, the teachers at this time need all the support they have in terms of purchasing materials, the gadgets, upgrading their gadgets, you know, even taking care of their own families. We have to consider that as well, you know. So uh, that, I hope, will boost their morale and somehow give them more motivation to do better in their distance learning, so that, and establish a deeper commitment during these uncertain times.
Brother Bernie?
Yung question sa number one, yung challenges. Diyan, I think yung challenges yung psychological, spiritual, moral, ng mga teachers, students, at saka parents, yung mga stakeholders. Kaya yan isang challenge na dapat ma-address, na sa tagal na naka-lockdown tayo, maraming mga pangyayari na nangyayari sa kalooban natin na minsan hindi natin alam, kailangan pala natin ng tulong. So sa aming HR, meron kaming mga programa para sa mga teachers na nangangailangan ng psychological help. So yun, meron din kami continuous yung pinagpapatuloy namin, yung mga wellness programs namin. Kasi kailangan din yun. So yung exercise, mga yoga, kung ano pang mga dancing. So yan, binibigay rin namin yun. Yung mga guro na kailangan ng mag-update ng kanilang mga equipment kasi iba nga sa kanila walang kanilang mga gamit. So meron kaming mga programa na pwede silang bumili ng mga computers na ikakaltas na lang sa kanilang salary. Pero at kung anong tulong na may binibigay rin kaming tulong doon sa connectivity. Kasi nga may gastos din yun. And yung pero ang masakit naman yung kasi ang mga magulang na humingi sa amin ng tulong na wag na mag tuition fee increase. So kung hindi mabibigyan ng tuition, kung walang tuition fee increase, hindi rin mabibigyan yung salary, yung staff at saka yung faculty ng salary increase or across the board. So nakiusap ako doon sa mga liderato ng faculty at saka ng staff kung maaaring mangyari para tulungan naman ang ating mga magulang. Magandang loob naman sila na pumayag. Pero talaga, nag-iisip pa rin kami ng paraan na paano kami makakatulong sa kanila. Kung ang aming enrollment ay tataas pa ng konti, baka mabigyan namin sila ng monthly support doon sa kanilang connectivity. So, yun ang mga tulong na binibigay namin. At saka yung training. Kasi importante din na kailangan ng training ng guro para sila maging magtiwala sa kanilang sarili na marunong na ako at alam kong ginagawa ko. So yan, importante rin yung binibigyan namin sila ng training para maging magaling sila. Isa pang masaya ako sa marami ng mga guro sa Sobel, mga may certification sa Google, sa Microsoft at saka sa Apple para din makatulong sila sa kapwa nilang mga guro at nakikihalubilo sila sa mga ibang educators sa buong mundo kung anong mga best practices. So yun din nakakatulong para maayos o mas magaling ang mga ginagawa nilang modules for learning.
Okay. Alam nyo, isang malaking usapin din yung tuition fee increase or not na yung stable or hindi nagkaroon ng discount. No? Pero later on, pag-usapan sana natin at pagkatapos lang ni Mrs. Camacho sagutin yung question na about the mental health or yung boosting yung morale ng mga teachers.
Okay, medyo nasabi naman nila lahat na. So I just like to say, to remind siguro the administrators watching, school owners, that teachers are students too. Di ba? I think that's a very important paradigm. Yung napag-usapan nating challenges, accessibility, quality ng training nila, 'di ba? Yung motivation nila to study, yung balance nila between not screen time anymore but yung chores nila sa bahay because they're working from home. We have to consider those. Kasi hindi naman sila robot, and I feel that if the higher ups treat the teachers with the care with which they treat their students, the growth mindset will be easier to cultivate among them. No? Tapos, yung mga sinabing programa ni Brother Bernie, yung yoga class, socialization activity, hindi ba that's what we also do for our students by the teachers? So, our teachers also have to feel the care of the school for them so that they can be in the best position, in the best mindset to be able to deliver what we want to give to the students. Tapos, may caveat lang ako sa mga sinishare ko. I read the long comment. I won't answer it now, but just to say, I am sharing from perspective of what works with our school. Please take it or leave it, ha? That's not for standard everybody. That's just what works for us. Thank you.
Dagdag din ako kasi ang gusto rin madama ng ating mga guro na nakikinig ang administrasyon sa kanila. Nung nakalipas na buwan, talagang ang daming pinaplano, ang daming ginagawa. Nadidinig ko na may mga guro na pinapakinggan ba tayo talaga ng administrasyon, yung ating mga adhikain ba umaabot sa kanila. So yun, kailangan din natin ipaalam na oo, nakikinig kami at magsalita kayo, huwag kayong matakot, sabihin sa amin kung paano namin maayos kung ano man ang difficulties. Pero yun nadama ko rin yun, na minsan naiisip sa dami ng trabaho, naiintindihan ba tayo, nauunawaan ba tayo ng administrasyon?
Lalo hindi naman nakakapagkita-kita talaga face-to-face, no? Okay, so let's go back muna tungkol doon sa sinabi ni Brother Oka kanina, no? Kasi it's really important doon sa mga parents. Ang dami kasing nagko-question. Kung bakit daw hindi binababa yung tuition ngayon na hindi naman daw ginagamit yung school. So doon sa other seminar namin nung last month na nandito yung presidente ng University of Asia of the Pacific, Vice President of Loyola Schools ng Ateneo, and the Vice Rector ng UST, and the International School kami yung nag-LESM ng yung first time last month. Ang ano rin nila yung reklamo raw ng mga parents sa kanila na bakit hindi nagbaba ng tuition maski na hindi naman ginamit yung gym, hindi naman ginamit yung library, yung swimming pool. So I'd like to answer that for you kasi sometimes it's hard to to explain. Maybe if you can just add to what I said, I will say later, pero I would like to answer that for you. Maski na hindi gagamitin yung mga gym or equipments or classrooms in a school, it's there and kailangan pa rin i-maintain. And the gastos na siya na hindi pwedeng basta tanggalin porket hindi lang ginagamit. So, kailangan talagang, hindi naman kailangan ibaba yung tuition because of hindi ginagamit ng students. Kasi talagang gastos na yun ng school, which the parents should also co-shoulder, di ba? Kasi wala namang ibang gagastos nun eh. So, yun. Brother Oka, baka gusto mong dagdagan.
Yung aming mga magulang sa Zobel, very active. Kaya talagang may mga sulat kami na nare-receive. At gusto rin naman namin bigyan tugon yung mga gusto, ano ba yun, yung mga hirap nila. Kaya inisa-isa namin lahat ng fees. Inisa-isa namin lahat ng items dun sa budget kung paano mababawasan. At talagang pinakita namin ito, binawasan namin, ito, binawasan namin. Pero tama ka, Rosana, na merong mga sample clinic, merong maintenance cost pa rin yan. Kaya hindi pwedeng 100% out yan. O yung library, hindi daw gagamitin. Pero meron din kaming mga online books. Kaya meron din, pero hindi, may bawas na, hindi na yung kompleto yung mga fees. So ina-isa namin kasi nga nauunawaan namin na ang maraming mga magulang na nahihirapan din kasi wala silang trabaho, wala yung kanilang business. Kaya pinakinggan din namin sila.
And in fact, Brother Bernie, sabi ng ibang schools, nadagdagan pa nga raw ang cost nila kasi nagkaroon nga ng internet transition, diba? Yung transition to online.
Yeah. Malaki yan yung investment sa internet. Kailangan yan kung gusto natin ipatuloy yung ginagawa ng paaralan na pagtuturo.
Ng high quality education, di ba? So, ma'am, Mrs. Cacho?
In the same way, we've had to be more transparent with the fees we've collected, no, with the parents. Dati kasi, without a second thought, because of their trust in the school, di ba, they readily pay the fees. This year, the same questions you raised and the same answers you gave. Di ba? There are some maintenance fees that cannot be taken out, some yearly subscriptions that just because no one is in school, we still have to pay. We don't cut those. Right? And really, a big chunk of the fees go to salaries. We did not lay off anyone, no? So it's the same people, and yun nga. So more or less, I think it has been answered. But I think it was important that the breakdown was shown. For our miscellaneous fees, we also made a commitment to refund those that will not be used. But these are miscellaneous fees, yung talagang amount earmarked for certain events. So pag hindi maho-hold yung event, hindi talaga magagastos, yun naman ang commitment namin. At the end of the year, isusoli namin.
Okay, so let's go to the next question. What investments or improvements can we make to ensure that our school systems remain competitive, lalo na yung mga schools nyo, no? Despite the situation, which areas in particular would need reinforcing and improving?
Sige.
Yes,
Okay.
Sa tingin ko, ang ngayon naming investment is really, financially, it's more on the IT infrastructure. Okay? So, bigla kasing mamadaliin yung mga dating pwedeng dahan-dahan lang. Okay? So that's one. But the other thing is non-financial. It's more of time. No? Investing time in the waiting part. So what do I mean? Hindi kasi pwedeng madaliin yung ibang bagay. So kunwari teacher training, making a very good curriculum, hindi ba? So sometimes these things need to brew in order for it to ripen well. So in a way, lalo na sa mga hindi pa nagbubukas, huwag magmadali. Yung sabi nga ni Brother Bernie kanina, mag-trial muna para with the trials, you look and see what will surface, what concerns will surface. So, but And I think yung time kasi na investment is also part of the consideration. In a way, what do I mean by this? Di ba, manpower, dati, klaro tayo na um, pag 7:30 ang pasok, 7:30, tas 4 o'clock ka lang pwedeng umuwi. Ngayon, pwede tayong maging mas loose ng konti. In a way, we seem to be losing on productive time coming from teachers, hindi ba? Pero that consideration that we give them, okay, is an investment for better work from them next time. So the investment is an investment of consideration, showing care for the people who are with us in our work, because ultimately, when they feel that we care for them, then they will also work harder because they're our partners. Tapos, for example, time pa rin for the parents. Right now, we discovered we're coordinating a lot more with them than in the past. Again, that takes time, di ba? But that time that we give to them is also the time that is needed for them to trust us, di ba? The more they know the whys and the hows of how we will do things, the better they will trust, the more they will trust us. And if they trust us, then they will also be willing to wait, na talagang may learning curve, na birthing pains lang ito. And as
Mhm.
such, hindi sila magiging nega kasi
Mhm.
iisipin nila, they know what they're doing, but
Mhm.
they're also still getting there. They're still in
Mhm.
that process. So I feel these are not the financial investments, but these are important, maybe more important investments nevertheless.
Mhm.
So that's great. Ano?
Oo.
I was thinking ang magiging sabihin nyo is yung internet security. You know, as shared last lesson, yung daw security natin ang next problem natin because dati nakasecure yung mga, let's say, schools natin for yung may mga magagandang firewall, mga antivirus talaga na hindi basta-bastang masisira ng mga hackers. Ngayon, since nasa bahay na nagtatrabaho lahat, so baka doon naman i-attack ng mga hackers. So, are you spending for that, Brother Oka? Brother Boom?
Ah, yung sa mga bahay ng mga teachers, sa ewan ko kung hindi ako masyadong magaling doon sa technology, no? Pero ang alam ko may mga cyber attacks na sa mga ibang mga pamantasan at eskwela. At nalaman namin na nangyayari yun, na sinabi ng aming director ng ITS, yung technology center namin, na meron naman kaming adequate na pamaraan na para hindi mangyari to. Pero yun, importante yung mga investment rin sa knowledge of cybersecurity, data privacy, kasi yun importante rin, lalo na kung gumagawa ang mga teachers ng mga kanilang mga original na mga modules. So meron din intellectual property na dapat i-secure, no? So kung may investment, talagang yung investment dun talaga sa technology, center ng technology sa school. Kasi yan ngayon, ang kailangan part na siya ng decision making doon sa administration. Kasi mahalaga yung role noong technology ngayon sa paaralan. At yung isa ding na investment, kung wala pa ang mga paaralan, meron sana mga educational technology leaders na parang coordinator siya na iniisip kung paano mapapalawak pa ang technology sophistication ng paaralan. Hindi lang sa hardware, pero pati na rin sa tamang pedagogy. So yun, mahalaga rin. So yan, kasama na rin dyan yung continuous training ng teachers, pagbigay ng kumukuha sila ng mga graduate studies nila, gumagawa sila ng pananaliksik. So yun din, kailangan iso-support kung magagawa sila ng mga papers na pwede ma-publish, na pumunta sa mga conferences. Ang ang vision ko noon sa Zobel na nangyayari na unti-unti, yung sharing ng Zobel para sa technology or the use of technology in learning sa iba't ibang mga paaralan. Nag-invest kami ng isang center na tinatawag namin Spark Ed, na nagbibigay ng workshops at training para sa mga ibang eskwelahan na gustong matuto sa experience namin. So yun din ang isang investment na ginagawa namin. Kung ang mga teachers namin, marami na magagaling-galing na dyan, pwede na silang trainers at pwede na sila maibahagi sa mga iba't ibang mga educators para lumawak rin ang kanilang pakaalam sa using of technology in learning.
Okay, so we are so lucky to have this ang gagaling ng mga speakers natin today. And Mrs. Cacacho, tumanda ka na sa tingin ko kasi you look so young. Kaya matanda na tingin ko sa'yo, ang ganda-ganda kasi ng mga tinuturo mo. And I know lahat ng mga nakikinig dito ng mga principals, they learned a lot from you. So thank you so much, Mrs. Cacacho, for accepting our invitation to be here. So sa'yo na naman uli yung next question. Ay, kaya Mrs. Benko naman. Okay, so ma'am, what are the most significant lessons that you learned as an educator during this time? Kasi you're still active, no? Maski na you retired from LaSalle, pero you're still active in so many other organizations, such as ours, no? Ahead, thank you for that, no? Ahead, Alpha, you are our director, and from another publisher. So, ano po yung mga natututunan nyo since you are with LESM, di ba? 15 years na tayo nag-train ng mga school administrators. Ano po yung natutunan nyo ngayon na malapit nyo nang i-share sa lahat?
Well, all I can think of now is that the most significant lessons that I have learned throughout my 40 years of being an educator is to be a role model to the teachers and to the students, because they look up to you as, somebody who can lead them, somebody who can guide them. And so be a role model, that somebody who can show them the good values, because we teach also values, not just academics, no? So they have to develop very good values. Therefore, be patient and be supportive. There are other things, but I guess continue to do well and manifest all those values and virtues, and they will learn a lot. The teachers, the students will learn a lot. A homeroom advisor, for example, the values that the homeroom advisors have, these are manifested in the way the students behave in the classroom. So you can readily see advisor who can direct the students into very good behavior and somebody who is disorganized in everything. No? So just manifest all those virtues, have them in the way you talk to them, have them in the way you behave, and they will be very good role models themselves. Now that I am retired, all I can say is that the good things done during those times would determine the future of a person. Because I mean, what I do now, they are reflective of what I have done, and the reasons are they're very easy. It's because they can see that the records are clean, so there are no further questions asked. So I told the teachers, do well now that you are young, do well in everything that you do, because what you do now will determine what you will be years from now, which I have experienced myself. Just showing them a record of my LaSalle Green Hills stay. Wala nang tanong yung brother eh.
Dapat naman, walang tanong talaga.
Wala nang tanong yan eh. So, but anyway, also be patient, be supportive, and be prayerful. I mean, I also learned to talk to Saint LaSalle. I mean, I had a lot of stories and experiences with the way Saint LaSalle answered all my petitions. And that helped in decision making, that helped in carrying out one's responsibilities. Importante yon. Mm.
Mrs. Benko, I'd like to add lang na, di ba, you cannot act talaga as a good principal unless you have the support of the president na
Of
magaling.
course. Of course.
Pag
Oh,
hindi mo
yes.
yung president, okay, cancel lahat ng projects mo, principal.
Yes.
Oo,
Of
oo.
course.
So,
That's
So,
why I said Brother Bernie
it's the
is
best.
a very supportive administrator.
Oo.
It's I love working with him, you know. And I'm sure the teachers of Sobel now would say the same thing. Mm.
Ang ganda ng mga programs ni Brother Bernie. So,
Oo,
Brother,
syempre. Mm.
Oo. Oo. Yung ako naman,
okay naman.
Brother.
ang natutunan ko sa lahat na ito ay talagang yung religious part ko na talaga ang Diyos mabuti, mabait, magaling na Panginoon. Yung nangyaring ito, ilang taon na kami parang naghanda dito kasi mga 8 years ago nagsimula na ang Zobel ng paggagamit ng blended learning. Tapos meron na kami mga nagagawang mga flipped classrooms pag walang pasok, ginagawa namin, may pasok yan na kasi itong gagawin natin kahit walang pasok sa eskwela. So parang yung tawag ng Diyos para gawin ang nararapat, nakikita ko talaga kung may pananampalataya ka, mangyayari sa ikabubuti ng kapwa. So isa yan. Pangalawa, yung sinasabi ni Chit, importante yung pag-e-empower ng iyong mga administrators. Kasi bilang isang president, top manager, hindi mo talaga alam ang lahat na nangyayari doon sa ground. Kaya ang mga administrators mo, sila ang mga leaders ng mga actual people on the ground. So bigyan mo sila ng power para gumawa ng mga plano nila, maging creative sila, and then papakinggan mo at kung ito ba kasama or ipagpapatupad ng vision and mission ng school. Kung yun nagpapatupad nun, full support yan. And then, ang maganda dyan, Chit, ikaw ang gumawa, pero sa akin ang praise. Kasi sabihin, wow, ang kaling-kaling ni Brother Bernie, pero ang principal ko ang gumawa talaga niyan. Pero hindi, kailangan talaga i-empower ang mga administrators. So yan, mahalaga rin sa akin yan. And then yung flexibility na may crisis management, di ba tayo as administrators, ang ating talagang responsibilidad ay gumawa ng tamang desisyon. Doon talaga yun ang ating responsibilidad. So kung merong mga crisis, lahat yan, dapat magaling tayo mag-analyze, magaling tayo mag-isip ng paraan para ba matutugunan itong nangyayari sa atin, maliit man o malaki. At ang maganda rin dito yung sense of community, na hindi ka nag-iisa. Sana yung mga ibang mga administrators, huwag nilang iisipin na mabigat masyado itong aking dinadala. Huwag niyong isipin yan. Kailangan isipin ninyo na meron kayong kasama, meron kayong samahan na nagtutulungan para sa isang goal, which is really the vision and mission of the school. So,
very good.
Mrs. Cacacho, I'm sure you have a very good president also. So, can you share your strength?
Ang presidente kasi namin, alumnus din namin. No? Mas bata pa siya sa akin. But yung learning, siguro this online distance learning was a big lesson for me in humility. No? I was a micromanager, but since my assistant principals, my administrators, the teachers are so much younger than I am, it took some time for me to shift, to be comfortable letting go of the other things I used to do. no? So that required a letting go part, no? Pero ngayon, na-realize ko nga, aba, mas pagod sila kaysa sa akin, so bonus ko yon. So good yun for me, no? And then second, one big learning I got was that it is not enough to migrate existing policies and procedures onto this new environment, no? To apply everything that you did before in the physical setting, and then you just bring it back, you just bring it over to the online setting, is a recipe for failure. Kasi hindi na bagay. Hindi bagay. Example, yung checking of attendance na sinabi ko kanina, hindi ba? OC kami doon dati kasi by loco parentis, pag wala ang bata sa classroom at may nangyari sa kanya, dadalawin niyo ako sa jail, hindi ba? Pero ngayon na yung bata ay nasa bahay nila, dapat cargo na ng parents, 'di ba? Yung kung nasaan yung bata pag sinabing 8:30 klase na. Okay? So we started strict, and then we had, sabi nga ni Brother Bernie, marami kang madidiscover. Our ACAD policies and discipline policies underwent so many changes. Week by week, laging may bago. Kasi may bagong nangyayari na mga dati you take for granted, tapos ngayon kailangan mong pag-isipan. No? Importante yung mga ganon. So, as you do that, it is important to focus on the whys of the how we were doing things before. Example, why did we check attendance? Let's go back to that. Di ba? To ensure safety, to make sure that they're there, so that they learn the lesson. So we focus on the whys and then come up with a new hows. So I think that's the way to do it. And getting that your team, getting one's team into that mindset is also difficult. Kasi those things have been working for us for decades, hindi ba? Tapos to set them aside, tapos especially with our younger teachers, pagpasok nila, those structures were doing very well, that there was no need for them to understand the why. So it's important now to get the discussion back to the whys para sama-sama tayong, o sige, ito pala yung gusto natin, paano natin to gagawin. So that's number 2. So humility, and then number 2 is not just to migrate. And then number 3, I think this is important. Confidence before competence, trust before compliance. What do I mean? For both teachers and students, they need to feel confident that there's a chance, there's a big chance they can learn it before they will try it. Okay? So that comes, building that confidence, okay, will set them up for successful competence. Okay? And then again, with the faculty, staff, and the families, trust before compliance. If they do not believe in what you want them to do, why should they? Hindi ba? That's when you'll get a lot of nega stars, right? So you have to invest that time to build trust by being more transparent, by explaining step by step, by scaffolding what used to be just generic statements before. That's how we build trust. And once they believe in those, they will believe in you, so that for whatever future things you want them on board for, they will surely get on board. So I think that's very important.
Idadagdag ka lang kay sabi ni Jay, yung confidence before competence. Ang teachers dapat ganun din eh. Kailangan pag mag-uumpisa sila, kailangan confident sila na kaya ko to at alam natin na hindi magiging perfect, pero nag-prepare na ako, kakayanin ko to. So then gagaling sila, at saka yung flexibility na okay, yung humility na alam ko hindi naman perfect, o saan tayo pwedeng mag-improve sa ating paggagawa ng teaching natin. So, tama rin yun na ang mga teachers kailangan maging confident at saka maging flexible at saka humble.
Ang ganda-ganda nitong seminar natin. Alam nyo, ang daming nagko-comment ngayon. Nakikita nyo ba yung comments, ma'am, Mrs. Venkol?
Yeah.
Brother Bernie, ba yung comments? Dito sa doon sa screen, sa kabilang screen, hindi dito sa yung kung nasa tayo. Kasi ang gaganda talaga, they're really thanking you. And even my staff, they're saying, wow, ang gaganda ng ang gagaling ng mga speakers and ang gaganda ng mga sinasabi nila. So, thank you so much again. And let's go to the next question na. So, ano naman ang iniisip nyo? How do you think this situation will unfold in the coming years? Kaya, ilang years kaya? Yun ang first question. Tapos, how do you think, what will happen? So, Brother Bernie, ikaw muna.
Well, ang importante is yung ngayon, pag-aralan natin, let's evaluating na natin kung anong mga matututunan natin sa ngayon para kung ano man ang mangyari sa susunod, we can build on this. Okay? So hindi natin sasayangin yung mga natutunan natin, na experience natin sa panahon na ito. So kailangan i-build on. Ang tingin ko, do may mga plano na yung aming mga eskwela na kung pwede nang bumalik ang mga estudyante, iba na rin ang mangyayari sa learning process. Ipagpapatuloy natin yung blended learning kasi nakikita naman sa mga pananaliksik na the best talaga yung blended. Merong in-face or face-to-face tapos yung paggamit ng teknolohiya. Pero ngayon, kasi nga technology lang ginagamit natin, matuto tayo sa ating mga na-experience yung para we can keep on building on that. Habang walang vaccine, hindi yata kami magbubukas ng paaralan para sa or face-to-face. Pero ang mahalaga is that lahat tayo ay lifelong learners, lahat tayo mag-uusap-usap, maghahanap ng paano ba isasaayos, kabubuti itong ating educational system dito sa Pilipinas.
Brother Bernie, ilang taon kaya ito or gaano katagal kaya?
Actually, very fluid. Wala talaga magsasabi. May sinasabi, makukuha na daw ang vaccine by November. May nagsasabi naman mga ilang buwan pa bago dumating ang vaccine. So, kailangan handa tayo kahit ano ang sitwasyon na haharapin natin. At saka, bilang mga educators, na tayo dapat mga matatalino, forward-looking, at saka nagtatanong-tanong sa isa't isa, siguro naman makahanda tayo kahit anong ating haharapin.
Mrs. Tapato.
Same with I dare not make any prediction, but how I see it is that there will be that step. There's going to be a transition between going back, di ba? Going forward to what it will finally be. But we will not reach it in one step. I think that there will be many little steps between now and when we can go back to school. What do I mean? Feeling ko, before we get 100% of the population physically in school, it will pass through 50% muna. Kasi diba, kumbaga kung may skeletal force sa adults, yung mga bata, we can't have them all at the same time then. But as to how fast, how slow, we really cannot tell. Which is actually a big burden on the schools. Kasi it's different if you know there's a clear plan B. You can plan for plan B, right? But right now, to get to plan B, there's plan 8.1, 8.2, 8.3, and you have to plan for all those little steps. No? So it's taking a toll on the school administrators, especially on our teachers. Even kung ang mga pamilya ay nag-iisip na they don't know what's happening, they're very confused, the teachers feel that twice as much. Diba? kasi sila yung haharap sa mga magulang eh. So, feeling ko lang, a lot of understanding and patience will be required of everybody in the years to come.
Ma'am, Mrs. Benko.
Well, just briefly, because if we look at distance education per se, it was started years ago. I think more than 10 years ago. So it's highly probable that it will continue, not because of the pandemic, but because there is a need. Because I know I have a friend in the US who got his master's degree online. And he was able to finish it in 3 years' time. So it will be there. Kaya even if the pandemic ends, I think distance education will continue. It's just that the setup for basic education will, of course, be different. No? So all I can say is that the institutions must continuously seek to improve, and they should have more informed decisions so that they can vary, they can innovate their course design and implementation to suit that particular period of time. So in a few years from now, if there is no pandemic, then what will you be offering our students? No? If it is traditional, there must be some innovations, even if it's back to traditional classroom. Okay.
Can I add a medyo baka crazy question, but I don't know if kasi I heard na baka magkaroon ulit ng another pandemic. Diba merong nanggagaling ngayon sa China na sinasabi nila kung makarating uli yun dito. Halimbawa, umabot tayo ng 6 years na online lahat. What will you do with your schools, with your school facilities? Paano kaya yon, Brother Oka, as president of ang ganda-ganda ng school nyo, no? Paano kayong gagawin nyo dyan? Kasi maybe the other school leaders need to know that, di ba?
Kasi kung hindi na magagamit ang paaralan para sa mga classrooms or sa teaching, hahanap tayo ng mga ibang para doon sa pwede magbigay kung sa homeless, kung kailangan ng bahay ng mga homeless, kailangan ng so marami tayong magagawa, mabubuksan natin ang ating mga paaralan para sa kung anong pangangailangan ng ating lipunan. So, and then by the time, siguro kung naka 6 years na tayo dito sa online learning, siguro sanay na tayo at ang galing-galing na natin sa online learning. Pero, so yun. So, again, tingnan natin kung anong mangyayari pag nakikita natin na pagkasakaling mangyayari. Then, iplano na natin. So, yun.
Ma'am, do you want to add to that, Mrs. Catacho?
Oo. Because the online learning hindi pa naman 6 years, hindi ba? Parang kumbaga walang kasiguraduhan. But what I know is, kasi sa San Juan po, we're already working closely with the government. At ang intindi ko, our alumni, together with the school, are very active in running one of the science schools in San Juan, a new school. Tapos COVID facility. No? So, hindi pa ma-offer yung Xavier School campus at that time because the place was not conducive for patients to stay in. But if we are sure na, kunwari, medyo may alam natin na matagal-tagal ito, years. I think like Brother Oka, what Brother Bernie mentioned, many of the schools will serve society. And many of our school projects for students will also be geared towards that. And I think our curriculum will also be refashioned to be more responsive to those times.
Yeah. Oo. Yun, gusto ko idagdag rin yung kay Jane na yung ating direksyon para sa ating mga estudyante para paano ba sila pwedeng makatulong mag-serve sa ating kapwa gawa ng edukasyon na binibigay natin sa kanila. So yun, mahalagang mahalaga.
Which is not to say kasi 'di ba that we're not doing it now.
Yeah,
It's just
oo.
now it's really in your face, 'di ba?
Yeah.
Dati hahanapin mo pa yung kailangan mong tulungan eh. Ngayon,
Nandiyan
eto
na.
na, no, nakapresent na sa atin.
Saka kung, Rosana, kung 6 years,
For 6 years.
isipin mo yung talon ng technology. Pagdating ng 5G, yan, magbabago talaga ang mundo natin. Ang 5G, yung AI talagang masyadong magiging mas malakas at mas malawak. Ang data, big data, yung lahat yan, mag-i-influence sa ating education eh. So yan, dapat paghandaan natin.
Virtual teachers na yung dumarating sa bahay. Pero facilities naman, no? Pero sinabi nyo na pwedeng sa homeless, pwedeng sa ano na lang, hospital. Kasi nanghinayang ako kasi ganda ng mga schools nyo. Tapos, kasi sayang, di ba? And the parents will continue paying for it, di ba? Parang ganon. Kaya yung medyo concern ko rin yun for you dahil ang gaganda talaga ng schools nyo. But let's go to the next question na. Kung halimbawa ganon, what kind of school leaders do you think you would need to be by then? Diba? Parang ma'am, do you know, Mrs. Bento, how would you teach the other school principals that we are training? Paano sila mag-act kung halimbawa training sila? What will you say, no?
Well, I would say that school leaders should be very decisive in terms of making decisions, because this is very important, that given the whatever situations, they should be able to make quick decisions to encourage everything, student learning, student engagement, or giving feedback to parents. So all of those are responsibilities of administrators. Therefore, administrators should be very informed with what is going on, current and future, and make plans, have a vision on how to attain those changes and implement them, such that learning continues. There should not be an end to learning. It should be progressive, it should be continuous, whatever the situations are, but there should be a leader who makes sure that all of these are planned out and the goals are attained.
Mrs. Cacacho, do you want to say?
Sa akin, ABC. Okay? A, the leadership should be adaptive. So whatever the times need, we should be able to adjust. Cannot be a leader who insists on what worked hindi nga 20 years ago because it's changing so fast. You cannot insist on something that worked 3 years ago, ngayon pa din, kasi iba na talaga. So, adaptive, whatever is needed. Be brave, okay? Because the bravery is in trying the untried, okay? Because you have to get out of the box. And sometimes, especially if you're leading a school that's a forerunner, kanino ka makiki-benchmark? Ikaw yung nasa unahan. So dapat ikaw yung willing na mag-try ng wala pang gumagawa. And that entails bravery. Again, as a leader, I speak to school leaders, no? It also takes bravery to be self-aware. Hindi mo kayang gawin. Para mag-aral ka, sabi nga ni Mrs. Venko, you have to be on top of things, so you have to study, you have to learn. Di ba? Lifelong. And C, compassionate and considerate. Hindi ka pwedeng mag-insist na now na ito na. Hindi rin yung pwedeng the way I like it, ganito lang. Kasi iba-iba yung konteksto natin. So to be considerate of the different unique context of each person, each family, each faculty, and to be compassionate in case what we require them, they cannot deliver because of a valid reason. So ABC.
Kung ang ginagawa natin sa mga estudyante ay para sila maging handa sa hinaharap nila or sinasabi natin future-proof. Diba ang ating may mga qualities ang 21st century learners. Siguro ang mga leaders rin or administrators, kailangan makuha nila itong mga skills na to kasi hindi natin alam kung ano talagang haharapin natin. So, unang-una, kailangan they should be creative. Okay, kasama na yun sinasabi ni Jay na pag mahahanap sila ng solusyon. Magaling silang communicator. Nasasabi nila sa mga teachers nila, sa mga magulang, sa mga estudyante kung ano talaga ang gustong gawin ng school at kung mga plano, mga visions nila. Empathic, may puso sa tao, collaborative, nakikinig, may teamwork, perseverance, yung grit, optimistic, reflective, prayerful. Kung ito yung mga 21st century skills na gusto natin ibigay na makuha ng ating mga mag-aaral, dapat ito rin ang dapat ang mga skills na kukunin ng mga managers, mga leaders, mga educational administrators.
So, okay. So, ano na tayo? Naku, malapit na tayo matapos. Pero I think things will ever go back to the way they were? Hindi, no? Sinabi nyo na yung kanina. If so, would all the things that we're doing now still apply? Hindi na rin. Nasagot nyo na rin.
No,
nasagot na.
Iba ng mundo ngayon. Iba ng mundo. At ibang ating haharapin talaga.
Yes.
Sana naman haharapin natin, may natuto tayong mabuti at gagawin natin yung makakatulong talaga sa lipunan, sa bayan, sa mundo. Hindi natin kakalimutan ang mga leksyon na natutunan natin dito.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think na pwede na natin sagutin ngayon yung mga questions ng mga viewers natin. So maybe pwedeng paki-post nyo na yung questions. I'm so privileged to be part of this webinar. Ang galing-galing nyo. So lalo na si Mrs. Cacacho. You're now my favorite sa mga okay, ayan na. Ma'am, pakisagot mo na yan.
However, should I understand? I'm not proposing that what I suggested a while ago be standardized for everybody. But in our school, the reason why yung clarification kanina ni Brother Bernie about formative and summative assessments, that's correct. But that is not what we are applying. Okay? The second chances that we give our students to retake exam, and I'm talking about grade school only, ha? So it's a very limited population I'm talking about. Because even if our Xavier High School, feeling nila ang high school, this one does not apply to them anymore. Okay? Pero yung sa amin, yung summative assessment that I talked about a while ago, that we are willing to give second chances and in fact third chances because we cannot attribute to just one clear reason.
Variable.
I'm confident with that because we have a back-end support. When a student fails the first time, he will be given additional classes by the teacher. Okay? Tapos, after the additional sessions, to clarify misunderstandings, misconceptions, then he'll be given a second chance. Hindi ba when we take online exams, okay? Or kahit nga pag nag-fill up tayo ng form. Recently, ka-fill up ko lang ng form para sa LTO, magre-renew ako ng license. Ayaw akong papuntahin sa next page kasi lagi akong may nakakalimutan. So it tells me to go back to a particular question. So it's that same mindset that we are applying. That sometimes, pag hindi mo makita once, makuha once, you need to just review again. And then after a second attempt, because you've had a second chance also to take a look at it again, then you get it already the second time around. Okay? So, because we have that back-end channel of giving the support, kaya din kayong oras. Kasi meron din kaming naka-block na time to make this makeup test possible. Ngayon, kung yung ibang schools wala, then I would not recommend it. But I would recommend that you still simplify your grading system and that you be willing to wait. One form, pwede ba, dagdag ko lang, one form of waiting is, di ba usually, in a synchronous period. Synchronous meaning, sabay tayong nasa klase, online. Di ba? Merong seat work na ng teacher na binibigay. If this were a regular class, dapat at the end of the period, tapos na. Di ba? Pero kami ngayon, ang ginawa namin, yung seat work, kahit natapos na siya at, kunwari, 9:30, pwede mo isubmit ng 3 o'clock ng hapon. Kasi, baka nung 9 o'clock to 9:30, nag-lag yung internet mo. Hindi mo nagawa. CISO activity yon, kailangan ng internet. Or, yung mami mo, kailangan magluto muna. No? So, hindi ka natulungan. Hindi mo naintindihan yung instruction agad-agad. So, meron kang hanggang 3 p.m. So, those are the considerations that you can give. So, that's the waiting time, that's the simplifying the grading system, or a makeup, a second chance.
That's great. Meron pa kayo dadagdag, brother and Ms.
No.
Ben?
It's okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, baka meron ng next question. Paki-post naman, please. Ayan. Brother Bernie, sa'yo lang yan question. Sa yung question yan.
Best practice. Well, yung mga teachers namin na medyo magagaling na dyan sa paggamit. Marami na kasi talaga sanay na gumamit ng technology sa paggawa ng mga lessons. Kaya yun ang best practice. Ngayon lang, instead na blended, ginagawang fully online. So yun sa tingin ko kasi parang parang handa na kami nung nangyari ito. So pero syempre marami pa rin dapat i-adjust. Pero yun, I think kasi yung mga training ng maraming teachers, yung Spark Ed namin, kung dalawang araw na workshop yun. So may talks, pero ang maganda doon yung mga participants pumupunta sa classroom at nag-o-observe kung ano yung ginagawa ng teachers. So nangyayari na talaga sa classroom yung paggamit ng technology.
Meron na nga pwedeng idagdag, best practice that I think all schools should consider is the increased communication with the parents. No? The parents are under a lot of anxiety. No? So ang dami nilang takot at isa sa mga takot nila for schools that have opened, katulad namin, is na hindi namin alam ang problema nila sa bahay. Di ba gano'n naman tayong lahat? So it's important to let them know that we listen. So what we did this year is we regularly field feedback survey forms, among parents. Gusto ko lang ikwento, nung first fielding namin, ano lang naman kami, stop, continue, start. Yung stop na question, 55 pages, na-depress ako nung araw na yon. Imagine that. Ang dami. Pero it was worth it because we learned so much from what we did not know they were experiencing at home. And they, at the same time, they needed an avenue to make themselves feel that, teka, I'm able to say what I want to say. Hindi ba? And then, in the weeks that followed after that survey was fielded, syempre hindi naman lahat ng gusto nila susundin namin at saka sabay-sabay. 'Di ba? Pero isa-isa nilang nararamdaman na oops, yung sabi natin about Zoom links na ganito, naayos na. Oops, yung labeling of ganito na problematic, naayos na. So nararamdaman nila na may ginagawa ang eskwela. But can you imagine if we did not ask them, we'd just be getting hate emails every day? But this was a structured way of getting feedback, both positive, and we tell them, we love both your
Oo.
positive and negative comments.
Gusto ko lang idagdag doon sa aming schedule. May break kami sa Wednesday. Tinatawag namin Wellness Wednesday. So yan yung guidance counseling, yan yung clubs, yan yung mga iba't ibang mga activities na hindi academic. Pero yung Wellness Wednesday rin ay yung pagkakataon na pwedeng magtanong ang mga estudyante sa kanilang mga teachers, na pwedeng i-follow up, pwede silang mag-submit ng late, pati rin mga magulang. So merong yung oras na yun na may time for communication. So mahalaga yan yung communication between teachers, students, teachers, at saka mga magulang.
May I also just say, kasi baka, di ba online nga lahat, ano? Ang isa naming ginawa, meron kaming tinatawag na Friday emails. Okay? Itong Friday email, we send specific to a section. Tapos, nakalagay na ron yung aaralin for next week. Nakalagay na rin doon lahat ng materials na kailangan. Kung may kailangang i-download, i-print, nandoon lahat. Bakit? Kasi nga, dahil nasa Pilipinas tayo, yung internet connection hindi stable. So pag nawala si teacher, we also explicitly articulated what will happen. So alam nyo, pre-practice din namin yon. What to do when teacher disappears from the screen. Diba? Kailangan yan, maliliit na bata eh. So alam na nila na magiging asynchronous yung class. Diba? But note, the parents are not expected to teach. But let's say, a video was meant to be shown, a short one. Pwede na nilang watch on their own. Hindi na kailangang hintayin pa si teacher. So, having all the materials ready with them also gives them an overall picture of what will happen for the week. Again, that's an investment in time. We didn't do that before, hindi ba? Dati kahit na the night before, si teacher nagpupuyat sa PowerPoint, pwede. Ngayon, hindi pwede kasi ibibigay na namin.
At saka, gusto ko lang, Rosana, ipagdadagdag lang ako sa experience na rin namin nung yung nakalipas na linggo at saka nung nag-flip classroom kami. Ang comments ng mga magulang, laging ang dami-daming trabahong binibigay ng teachers. Kaya maganda yung sinasabi ni Jane, kung nakikita na nila yung sa susunod na linggo na ito ang mga gagawin, ito ang mga dapat isubmit, at least napaplano. Pero common to na kaya yung mga teachers dyan at saka mga administrators, kailangan maghanap kayo ng paraan para hindi sobra naman ang ibibigay na trabaho sa mga estudyante. Nadinig ko to mulang pre-K hanggang sa PhD. Yung mga online, laging maraming binibigay ang mga teachers.
Yeah.
I think hindi lang yung volume but yung speed. No?
Yes.
Slowly.
So,
Yeah, just briefly to add, I was just thinking of one good practice is to have students have an individual learning plan, which will contain what Brother Bernie just mentioned and what Ms. Cacacho also mentioned, which should be given before the week starts and then collected at the end of the week. It can have different versions, no? Basta alam ng estudyante yung what to take up for the week.
Ang sabi naman ng ibang guro, ang mga highly motivated na mga estudyante nakaka-catch up. Yung mga dependent students, yung mga hindi pa independent learners, ang kailangan hawakan pa ng teacher kung paano gagawin to o kailan gagawin. So, yan ang kailangan natin turuan din ang ating mga estudyante.
Yes, right.
okay. So next question is, one of the biggest problems of private schools now is the low number of enrollees. How can school administrators best address this problem? Question ko din yan. Nagbawasan ba kayo ng enrollees, Cacacho?
Not as much as we thought, no? So nasa siguro 95% pa rin kami ngayon. But
It's a good number.
that's a very, very good number. And I think what helped was our online open house prior to
Ah,
the opening, prior to what's it called,
enrollment.
enrollment. And then we also placed the parent orientation prior to enrollment.
Yes.
Oo. So, yun nga, transparency. It's a lot of sharing of information. They won't enroll if they don't know what you're offering. So,
Right.
it's up to you, schools, to let them see how you will take care of their children. As long as
Right.
the conversation focuses on the child, I think they will put their trust in you.
Mm-hmm.
Yung pag administrators na nakikita na talagang low yung number, kailangan gumawa sila ng financial continuity plan na magsenaryo sila ng best, middle at saka worst case scenarios at gumawa sila ng budget para dyan at saka kung anong dapat nilang gawin para maka-cost cut iba't iba ang mga scenarios na nakikita nila. Kami mga siguro 90 or 90 plus din. Pero ang nakatulong din sa amin yung mga magulang na nalaman namin na nahihirapan magbayad. Kaya biglang gumawa na rin kami ng monthly na pagbabayad. Noon hindi namin ginagawa yon. At saka on a case-to-case basis, ng mga magulang na sumusulat sa amin kasi talagang hirap na hirap sila. Kinakausap namin sila, gumagawa kami ng parang comfortable paying scheme, lalo na kung yung mga anak nila hindi pagka-graduate. So alam namin na meron naman ilang taon sila makakabayad. So pinapayagan namin pumasok pa rin sila kaysa mawala pa ang estudyante.
Good idea. Pero I think na kailangan mong i-explain or para magawa rin nila, Mrs. Pacacho, yung online open house. How do you do that? I'm sure lahat ng administrators, they want to do that too. Pero paano nila gagawin na?
Yung sa amin, we recorded a live class and then we showed it to them. At first, we wanted sana na live talaga agad-agad. Kaya lang, hindi kaya kasi mga 700 yung mag-a-attend eh. No? So, ang ginawa na lang namin, kumuha kami ng actual students, tapos nagturo na si teacher, tapos pinakita yon buong period, tapos habang nagpe-play yung video, pwede sila na mag-comment sa chat box kung ano yung mga napapansin. And then after the class, yun na yung, parang ganito, yun na yung mga tanong. So agad-agad, di ba kasi gano'n naman talaga yung open house, manunood ka. Parang gano'n.
By the way, we're experiencing a little bit of internet problem na with Mrs. Takacho, parang mga 30 minutes na. Pero yan ang problema, no? Ikaw yung teacher, ganyan, naglalag. How do we deal with that? Yun ang problem, ano? Okay, so Brother Bernie, sa'yo naman yung financial continuity plan, baka gusto mo medyo i-elaborate kasi baka gusto nyo gawin. But
Hindi.
baka hindi nila alam gawin.
Hindi. So, for example, ang best case scenario muna mga 90% of the students ang ma-enroll. So, ito ang magiging budget. Okay? So, ito ang revenues tapos ito ang mga expenses para kung ganun kadami yung estudyante. Ang medyo middle, kung sabihin natin mga 60% lang ang mag-enroll and then 40%. Ngayon, saan mo makikita ang cost cutting? Ang masakit dapat ang lalabas siguro dun sa sa salaries and benefits. So baka pag-aralan ng eskwela kung talagang sino mga superfluous na mga employees na pwedeng ibigyan ng redundancy or retrenchment or early retirement. So maraming mga planong magagawa para sa ganyan. Pero kailangan planning din yan. Planning.
Okay, so ma'am, if you have nothing to add, I will go to the next question na. Mrs.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so next question please. Ayan. Which reading system is more appropriate? Okay, so anyone can answer Sino yung may gusto?
Sige. You can hear me ba? Okay.
Yes.
Sige.
Yeah.
Okay. Feeling in our school we feel that simpler is better. Precisely for the reasons I mentioned earlier, it's hard to nuance across levels of understanding if there are many other variables beyond your control. One of the more important ones would be yung integrity of the answers. While Brother Bernie mentioned that there are online apps that can help you again to check for academic honesty, para sa akin, kung gugustuhin, may paraan. If there's a will, there's a way. No?
Yeah.
So the other thing we did is also to take away the award system, no, for this school year. Para nga walang pressure rin to get unnecessary help. Kasi hindi mo yun makontrol eh, di ba? So kung pass fail lang, tapos may assurance ka pa na pag nag-fail tutulungan kita, mag-cheat ka pa ba? Hindi ba? So, feeling ko lang, a simpler grading system will be more appropriate because it can also promote academic honesty, lessens pressure also on both the parents and the students. Tapos also, yung integrity is not just the correctness of the answer but that how sure is teacher then kunwari yung quality ng video na sinubmit niya, nakadepend sa device. So, paano yon? Yung financial status gets into the picture, hindi rin naman pwede. That's unfair, hindi ba? So, those are the things that could be taken out or minimized when the grading system is just a pass or fail.
Brother?
Chit, baka may gusto kang sabihin, being former. Meron kang gusto sabihin, Chit.
For the grading system, as far as I know, brother, I think it depends on the school. Each school should have its own manner of grading the students. And whatever it is, then it has to be disseminated to parents. But necessarily at this time, the traditional grading system that we have should really be revised according to the given situations of the school. Yeah.
Sa amin naman, itatry pa rin namin yung mga apps kung paano magagamit yun na kung paano mababawasan ang cheating. Pero ang kasama nun, parang humihingi kami sa estudyante ng parang honesty policy na kung as much as possible na tayo ay Catholic Christian school, na meron tayong mga values. So ating panindigan itong values of honesty. So yun ang kadikit noon. And then yung isa pa, yung may percentages naman So yung mga in terms of knowledge, yung academics, pero meron din malaking part yung mga performance tasks. And then may mga rubrics lahat din yun So yun din ang differentiate kung ano yung quality of the paano nila naabot yung competencies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, last question na lang ako. Last question ako. Paano yung homeworks? Dahil nasa home na naman sila, ibibigay pa ba yung homework?
Meron pa rin. Oo. Pero meron akong isang estudyante, sabi niya, ay nako ma'am, gusto ko pumunta sa Finland kasi walang homework doon sa Finland. Kasi nga, ang dami daw trabaho na binibigay ng teachers. Ang homework, kasi hindi naman lahat synchronous May few minutes lang synchronous. Pagkatapos doon, gagawin na nila yung mga tasks nila. So parang yan homework.
Right.
Yung sa amin, we in our school, kami lang to we differentiated between seat work, homework, and asynchronous activities. Okay? So, what is seat work? Seat work is what you want students to do inside your synchronous class para formative assessment, para makita mo as teacher kung gets niya o hindi. Okay? So, yun, agad-agad chinechekan. Okay? Activity niya. Pagka homework, kasi ayaw mong sa, maubos yung synchronous period na kanya-kanya silang may ginagawa na pwede naman nilang gawin outside your class. You want the synchronous period maximized for teacher-student or student-student interaction to clarify misconceptions. Yung ganon, no? But, syempre, the students need to practice. When will they do that? So that's homework. Gagawin pa rin nila outside your class to strengthen their understanding or mastery of a skill. But with the online distance learning, for some subjects, we drastically cut their periods. No? Kung dati, 6 to 8 hours sila sa amin, ngayon, 4 to 5 hours na lang ang mga grades 2 to 4. Okay? Even 2 to 6. So, ano yung mga natanggal? So, yung mga language periods namin, yung social studies, ganyan, kumonte. No? In consideration of screen time, etc. Now, dahil kumonte yung period nila na synchronous, itong mga subjects na to, meron silang asynchronous work which may not be homework. Example, kunwari, Filipino. Um, yung Filipino class, pwedeng sabihin ni teacher, anytime during the week, you go to this YouTube link, yan yung balita na binigay yung Filipino. Wala kayong gagawin, manunood lang kayo. So ano ang objective niya? Exposure. Because with more exposure to language, di ba, mas nanunuwans mo kung tama o mali yung rinig mo. So, not necessarily to be checked, but still academics related, but not homework. Can be done anytime at their convenience, asynchronous. So, those three types of work are important to us.
Thank you. Thank you. So it's 5 o'clock. So but I really want one sentence inspiration from you to para doon sa mga school administrators dito na alam nyo siguradong hirap din sila. So can you give them something to take away, diba? To remember forever from this seminar, diba? Para lumakas yung loob nila dahil ito yung napaka-momentous time in their careers. Diba? Brother Bernie,
Kung merong medical frontliners, tayong educational frontliners, at mahalaga rin tayo kasi ito ang hinaharap ng ating bansa sa pagtuturo natin sa ating mga estudyante. Kaya tayo mahalaga at ito ay talagang tawag ng Diyos sa atin. Wala tayong dapat ikatakot, bibigyan na tayo ng lahat ng ating kakailanganin na biyaya para magtagumpay.
Yeah.
hello. Yes. Okay, so Mrs. Benko?
Well, given the situation we are in right now, I think what you have been doing to continue to be innovative, creative, should be continued so that our learners will further improve and become, productive citizens later on. So hopefully, with God's grace, we shall manage to provide our learners with everything they need, good guidance, strengthen their academic skills. So all I can say is that for the teachers and administrators, keep up the good work. I mean, you are there, the students need you. Keep up the good work, do everything you can, and good luck, everyone.
Yes. So, Mrs. Catacho.
Running a school is not our mission, di ba? Educating children is our mission. So regardless of what platform it takes, if our heart calls us to do this, then we should do it. And I think that if we like it, if we love it enough, we will do our best. And because we are doing our best, we will surely succeed. But it's also important siguro to know that there are resources that we can use. No? Let's get help from each other. No man is an island. Diba? This is the time when we can beg, steal, and borrow good ideas from educators all over. Good luck. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, we hope to have another conversation with you again soon. And that's the end of our webinar. As they say, only those who can rule the world. In this case, it's the schools who can adopt to technology paths that can ride out this crisis. We would like to thank all our panelists, Mrs. Lilia Venco, Mrs. Jane
Thank
Cacacho,
you then.
and Brother Bernie Oka for sharing their experience and expertise in transforming their schools into digital classrooms. What you have shared will be an immense contribution to the private schools, making the transition to online learning. It will also help teachers and school administrators take advantage of distance learning. So we
Yeah.
would also like to thank the entire LESM team, especially
Yes.
Cyrene, Rina, Cora, Eric, Kat, Chin, and Gigi. All are honor graduates po of top universities for making this webinar possible. We would also like to acknowledge the support of the head education groups, Ahead Pro, Ahead Alpha, Ahead Online, Ahead Review. Lahat nagtrabaho for continuously working to bring quality training and education to the Philippines, even and especially at this time. I'm sure our audience has learned a lot from this webinar. Ako rin, ang dami ko natutunan. In my case, my personal takeaway is the fact that even amidst the current difficulties, it is still possible to keep learning.
Oh,
We
yeah.
should continue to support our students by providing quality education through distance learning. I know that our viewers will agree with this as well, as evidenced by their presence here and their comments and their, di ba, nagta-thank you silang lahat. So, thank you also for, for watching this, and I hope that you can share this to others na I know magbe-benefit also like you. So, this webinar was organized by a team of individuals who are all action-oriented, adaptable, adept, agile, agreeable, alert, and altruistic achievers. So I call them honors class, and we have other more upcoming seminars here on LESM for educators and school administrators who want to learn from our excellent mentors from top universities in the Philippines. So please check your email boxes and also yung LESM web Facebook page regarding our new webinars. Again, thank you so much for being part of this
Yeah.
webinar. And we
Thank
hope
you also. Thank you, Rosanna. And thank you, brother. Hi, Jane. So nice to meet all of you and talk to you.
see you.
Nice one.
Stay
Thank you.
ahead. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Jane,
you very much.
I learned so much from you. I learned so much from you. Nice seeing you.
Okay,
again. My
nice seeing
God.
you, brother. Hope we'll meet
Oh,
also in
nice
the
seeing you.
future.
Very nice
Okay.
Sige.
meeting you.
Rosanna.
Thank you, Rosanna.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sige. Give my regards to Father Ari, Jane.
Opo, pakikumusta rin po ako kila Henry at yung mga
Okay.
ADE.
Brother,
Okay. Tama.
yung presidente ng Lasal.
Oo.
Next na. Ikaw na ba yung next?
Well, hindi. Matanda na ako. Kailangan nag-retire na ako. Matagal na. Ewan ko nga bakit. Pinagdadasal ko sa Diyos. Sige, mag-retire na ako. Tapos binigyan pa ako ng De La Salle University. Kaya medyo, ewan ko bakit ang Diyos. Kaya, anyway, maraming salamat.
Kaya mo
Sige
ba
po.
yan? Okay,
Oo nga, mukha. Oo. Bye-bye.
Ahead Education offers homeschooling support, comprehensive reviews and tutorials, top-notch training programs, and high-quality seminars. For more information about what we do and how we can help your school transition online, please visit our website at www.ahead.edu.ph. Stay tuned for the upcoming launch of our latest brand, which we've especially designed for everyone who is keen to become adept and ahead in their chosen paths. Think different. Think ahead.